Welcome to the Mountainside Podcast. Our guest for this episode is R Shea. He's the author of Rimfire Revolution, senior editor at Free Range America, editor at large for Field and Stream. He's an outdoorsman, bow hunter, and just a great guy. I thoroughly enjoyed having Michael in studio. This was the first time we had met. We were able to catch up with him after his elk hunt here in Colorado, and I hope you enjoy our conversation.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a Burt Reynolds pose on it.
Yeah.
No, you know what I said to Aaron last night? I'm like, Bobby's going hunting. He's gonna get this fucking bear. I'm like, he told me, do we want the hide? And she's like, he's not keeping that. And I'm like, no, he's not. And she goes, fuck yes. She's like, what are you kidding me? She's like,
I'm not a trophy hunter.
Well, no.
I killed a good one in Idaho this year. Yeah. It was probably so. A couple years ago in Ontario, I killed.
Let's save this for the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's start rolling this shit right now. This is awesome.
You're actually on now. Just cut this immediate
well,
section out.
Yeah, here we go. We're gonna roll right into it. I have Michael from Black Rifle joining us tonight on the podcast. We started recording and just went into natural hunt mode.
Yeah.
And let's hear this bear story. Get
man.
right into it.
Yeah, we're talking about bears around town here, and I was saying I just killed a good one in Idaho. So it was we're saying maybe 450. It was a big bear.
Black bear?
Black bear. Yeah. So I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago in Ontario. I killed one that was, I want to say he was 4/8 off Boone and Crockett, and he weighed 342. Damn. And I walked up on this Idaho bear, and it was so much bigger. I mean, it was like the difference of looking at like a 140 versus a 160. It was like, holy shit, that's a big bear. So he's at the taxidermist now, but I'm looking forward to getting that score and that rug. Big chocolate.
You're getting a rug made.
Oh, heck yeah.
Sweet, yeah. Yeah, Jeremy's got dibs on my rug if I get this guy, so we'll see. I mean, it's pretty much a give me with him.
Yeah.
He'll follow me all the way to my truck, man. Like.
Yeah,
and that gets scary, you know.
Yeah, and black bears, for the large part, they're pussycats. But if they get habituated to people, it's like it just there's so many of them. Like, why not take that one out, let another one move in? Especially if he's big and old. Like, his time has come.
He ring a dinner bell, man. Like, he just knows. He's just sitting there waiting.
Yep.
He'll sit there and watch you do your thing, and then as soon as you leave or drag off, he's on it, man. It's like
yeah.
He's just waiting.
We had
dog, man.
This Idaho bear, man. It was we were deep up there. I got a friend who sets barrels, and we'll get them coming in, and we'll get little ones on there all the time. And that first night that we were in there, we saw him, and he walked in, and he was big. The guy who set him was like, that might be the biggest one we've had here in years. And it was right at last light. Curtis, who was just here, was up. And couldn't get a shot. He had his bow, and it just didn't happen. And he knew we were there. He looked and saw us and walked off. And so the hunt went on. He never saw him again, right? Curtis killed his first bear. It was awesome. And I had a buddy in Montana, and I called him, and I was just on the bear train. And I was like, dude, I can get a bush plane. I can fly over, land with you, hunt with you for a couple days in Montana. He's like, fucking awesome. But you got to do it on Saturday. So I had like 2 extra days in Idaho. So I just went and sat that barrel. And, man, it was 10 minutes before shooting light was up. And he walked down, and it was like, he's back, right? So I took my bow. I come to full draw, and I'm on him. And there's no light. We're on like this dark side of a mountain. Get the pin lined up. I see ribs, and I'm looking through the peep, and I just can't get the peep lined up with the sight. There's just not enough light, right? Yeah. So I just dropped the bow.
Especially when you're aiming at something black, right?
Oh, it's black on black, like in the timber, 10 minutes left. And I just said to my buddy, I was like, give me that fucking rifle. I grabbed 300 Win Mag. Yeah. Boom. Man, it was like the hammer of Thor. That bullet, I caught him in the neck. I was a little high, but it was just instant rolling down the mountain. Like, it was an incredible hunt, because it went from like a week of little bears or no bears, and all of a sudden, like 10 minutes before, I'm like packing my pack ready to go to Montana, and this guy showed up, and it was rad.
That's
man. It was
epic, man.
For a barrel hunt, like, it was a rad bear hunt.
Yeah. And see, I just told you we don't get into politics, but part of the problem is we have biology at the ballot box right now, right? So we got wolves coming in here. And a few years back, I want to say, Jeremy, you might have to look this up, but I want to say it was 3 or 4 years ago, they outlawed spring bear hunting and they outlawed baiting.
Yeah.
And dog hunting them as well.
Big problem.
Big problem. So now there's this epic bear problem. I mean, Colorado Division of Wildlife is giving away bear tags basically. So if you draw a deer or an elk tag, which is pretty much a give me in the state of Colorado, especially if you're a resident, you're probably going to draw your deer tag, especially if it's in an area that has a lot of private land on it. But you can do an add-on bear tag for that. So that's what I did. And it's like, I think it was $35 or something, but it gives you for the same game unit, you know, and it's like the landowners and stuff are sick of it, man. Like even right here where I live, I came home from hunting and I got home late and had to record with Baker the next day. So I just left my cooler in the truck, and I knew it might be a problem. I knew I might wake up, but I was fucking dog tired, man. We were all over the goddamn mountain that day, and I was trying to get it done. Didn't succeed, but trying to get it done. So I just pulled in my driveway, left my cooler in there, and I made the mistake of leaving trash in the back of my truck too. Like I packed my trash out, right? But anyways, we pulled in and there was bear paw prints all over my truck, you know, like we got little bears right here, but.
Was that 2016?
Yeah, probably. That sounds about right. So that was a while ago, man. That was almost 8 years ago. And now the bears have just gotten bigger. Yeah. There's no, I mean, it's hard to control them, and not a whole lot of people hunt them.
Right. And you can tell, like, just looking at the regs, that Colorado's pushing that. So, like, I'm up here for elk hunting. Yeah. You know, first thing you do, you buy your tag, you get the book, and you read the regs.
Yeah,
and
you
can
probably
see
could have
in
got
the
that
units.
on.
Well, my unit, you couldn't, but they actually put a bear paw next to all the elk units where you can get a bonus tag. So, like, they are absolutely trying to get hunters, you know, excited about bears.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And, you know, bears, they're silent creatures, man. Like, unless they're domesticated a little bit, good luck finding them, man.
Yeah.
That's a hard
you gotta
thing to find. Yeah.
Concentrate them on food, or run dogs, or get real high in the mountains where you can see them. You know, and if you don't have that, like you do here, you're not going to get above them to see them. You know, you're stuck.
Yeah, so. Where's home for you? I mean, this is the first time we met. Just for our listeners that don't know, this was just like you're here on an elk hunt, right? That's what you're doing in Colorado.
Yep.
And I want to get into that here in a minute, but tell me a little bit about your background, just because I don't know you very well. And I know that we're affiliated with Black Rifle recently, and you're an editor for them, correct?
Yes,
like
sir.
Is that for the Coffee or Die, or what?
So I guess a little backstory, right? So my background, I was a newspaper reporter, and I was doing that, and I got
not for the New York Times, right?
Not for the New York Times, no. A couple little papers for a company called McClatchy. And I started hunting there. I killed my first duck writing a story about duck hunting. God, I'm getting fucking old. I guess I was 23, 24. And I mean, I was just hooked, man, like instantly, like, and changed the whole direction of my life. Started writing more and more hunting stories for them and whatnot. Newspapers fell apart, right? Craigslist moved in, took their ads. Like, there's no local newspapers anymore. This was 15 years ago now. And so I went to grad school. I was like, I got to do something, you know? And I was at this very like progressive writing program, and I was like writing stories about duck hunters, you know? Everyone else was writing like a trauma memoir or like a experimental something, you know? And I'm like writing about these old crusty duck hunters. And my buddy comes in to our little writing workshop, and he's like, Outdoor Life is looking for an intern. You'd fucking love it. And so I wrote him this letter. I was like, I'd be perfect. I'm a reporter, blah, blah, blah. And they sent me this thing back. They're like, you would be perfect. So I ended up, after I graduated, I got a job for Outdoor Life and Field and Stream. I was doing video editing for them. And they were owned by the same company, same office. Much of the team is shared. And just went full bore into outdoor media. Ultimately, I ended up freelancing. I was there about 2 years as a staffer. Started freelancing for them, doing a lot of outdoor writing, outdoor video work, mostly hunting related, little fishing, but mostly hunting. And then, God, I did that for like 10 years. We ended up moving to real country New York, rural New York. And I say that because you say New York and it's like that fucking salsa commercial.
Yeah.
Like, New York City.
Yeah.
You know, like, no. Like,
I had no idea until I married my wife. Like,
yeah.
or I guess we weren't even married, but but yeah,
Good
going to
reason to
visit
get
her
married.
family, I was like, this is a lot like Colorado. I mean, there's awesome country there, man.
Yeah,
Beautiful spots and
like I
cool people.
shoot rifles in my yard, you know, like
Yeah.
it's rural. And so I was up there and I was just doing the freelance game. And then about a year, 6 months ago, something like that, I saw Black Rifle Coffee was starting an outdoor brand basically in Free Range American. And I knew a guy who knew a guy and talked to them and started basically, about a year and a half ago. And so the Free Range American project, what they're doing is, it was kind of, until very recently, like a multi-headed thing. There was the Free Range American podcast that like Evan and Matt.
I love
those
that
guys,
podcast too.
great
man.
podcast. There's great dudes. And so they were running the FRA podcast, and then through the Coffee or Die team, Marty, the guys who do like the military news, the journalism, and with me, they started this outdoor site. So we've been out filming hunts, we've been writing stories, we've been doing the full outdoor media thing. And then now, just recently, just a couple weeks ago, the podcast has rebranded to the Black Rifle Coffee Podcast.
Oh, cool.
And
That's
now,
what Baker was saying when he was in here.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of becoming its own sort of silo, if you will. And then FRA, we're kind of in a transition period. We're growing it up and going full outdoor. So, you know, hunting videos on a new YouTube page, social, stories, you know, we're going all in.
sweet.
Yeah.
Man,
so-
I was thrilled when they decided, or when they hit me up. You know, I didn't ask for it, and we just have. It's crazy. I have some friends that run in the same circle because I know a lot of former military dudes and
Yep.
from the industry that I'm in, and just a great company, man. Good people. Everybody I've talked to.
Yeah.
You know, you and I hit it off right out of the
Right
gate.
away.
So it's like,
Yeah.
that's most of the experiences that I've had. You know.
Yeah, so I'm up here elk hunting, and it was kind of a last minute trip, and I asked my buddy Mike Hearn, who writes for me for FRA. He's a wicked like outdoor writer coming on. Like he's a solid dude. And we're up there, we're about 9 miles back, and we were setting up camp, and he's like, man, it's like deployment. Like all I care about is food, water, shelter, and like weapons maintenance. And we're hunting elk, you know, and I'm not a military guy, so I didn't think about it like that.
And he's active
But
military.
he's active
currently,
duty.
right?
Yeah, he's active duty currently. But that kind of like simplicity of purpose, simplicity of mission that, as I understand, those guys like had and a lot of them loved. You transition out and you got this big, crazy, wide world of ours. But you know what, man? You can go up in the mountains and you can go elk hunting, you can go deer hunting, you can go bear hunting and get a little bit of that peace.
Yeah, it's about
you
having
know?
your gear together, being prepared,
Yeah.
you know, a little bit, coming up with a game plan. I would imagine I've never served, but I would imagine it's kind of the same, you know?
Yeah, there's a mission, you know.
The
you're
elk
on-
aren't shooting back at you, though. That's
Yeah, exactly. But I guess where I was going with that is for like a company like Black Rifle Coffee, like getting into the hunting game, I think is just such a natural transition, you know? Because like those guys, they love this shit. They love chasing animals. They love guns. They love archery. They love America. You know, it's all just like hunters, whether they served or not. So it's just an awesome like marriage to kind of see happening and help kind of be a part of. Like I'm
what
really
a great
grateful.
fit, man. Like,
Yeah.
it really is. And like I said, just the people that are involved with it, it's all kind of encompassing. It's all like-minded. It's a good deal, man. So
Yeah, it's a rad.
stoked
rad
for you.
crew.
Stoked for me.
Yeah, man, totally.
Good connections. So originally from upstate New York, did you grow up there? Or?
No. So I grew up in southern New England. So like most of my family's from.
Patriots fan?
No, I'm not
Okay.
a ball sports guy,
Okay.
man. You know, I'm not a sports guy.
Yeah.
But
I grew up a Denver Broncos fan, so I just got to ask, you know.
yeah, no, don't hold that against me. Yeah. No, I grew up in southern New England, did a lot of fishing. My dad was a big fisherman and we did a lot of outdoor stuff, but not a deep hunting culture there. So like I never got into that until later in life, but we were always doing outdoor stuff, you know, always on the water. You know, my uncle's a commercial fisherman, so Yeah, and then after that, dude, I moved all over. Like I went to college in Montreal, and then I got out of Montreal and I kind of like Jack Kerouac around the country, like as like a lost kind of young dude. Ended up in Key West, worked on a charter boat there. Worked on
Captain Jack style, right?
Yeah, totally. Worked on the schooner Western Union, which I think is still there.
Okay.
Which was fun. You take tourists on like sunset cruises, watch them get like shit-faced drunk, and it was rad. And then I went from there to Georgia, Savannah. And that's where I got my first newspaper gig. And I actually, I missed a step. I spent a summer in Estes Park.
Oh,
that Trail Ridge store at the top of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spent after my freshman year of college, I came out to Colorado and spent like 4 or 5 months out here.
That's awesome, man. That's another spot where there's a bunch of former military dudes up there. God, I'm drawing a blank on the name of their group, but they're park rangers that patrol the park.
Oh,
and
cool.
That's their like gig, and they've been hitting me up.
rad.
They're like, "Come up for a patrol, man. It would be awesome." So
That'd be a great story. Yeah. Great story.
Yeah, we're gonna do that eventually at some point.
A lot of gnarly shit happens up there. Like people get lost, they go on hikes, and they get deep in those canyons and vanish, and fall, and like there's a lot of search and rescue action.
There, you know what I mean? It's like breathtaking. It's like going into Glacier Park, and you just want to go experience it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people get caught in the backcountry up here,
Yeah, totally.
Especially in the spring, because you show up and it'll be 70 degrees at the trailhead, but you might be climbing 1,000 feet in elevation, and these mountains create their own weather, so you can end up in a snowstorm in no time, and you left the truck in a t-shirt, and now you're 4 miles back in or something. That's an issue.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. You're in trouble. Better have that inReach.
No
that
joke.
SOS.
Yeah, and you better have about $500,000 ready for that bird to come get you, right?
Yeah,
like when that Blackhawk shows up or whatever. So
yeah, you better be real cold.
Yeah, because you're burning money. It's funny though that they actually, I have one of those inReaches, and the only reason I got it was because I got young kids, and when we go camping, I like to go remote. Like that's how I grew up camping. It was like disconnect from everything. We're not paying for a campsite. We're going deep.
Yeah, totally.
And that's kind of the purpose of it, right?
Absolutely.
So we get back there, and it's peace of mind to have that. I don't know how fast a rescue would come, but it is a false sense of safety a little bit, I think. But man, that for as inexpensive as they are, and the service is inexpensive, and the GPS stuff that it does to your phone, they're pretty handy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't think of it so much as like as a rescue tool. Like I think I'll be able to get something dramatic would have to happen, right, for that to happen, or to have to hit that button. But having like the email function, so like just to get in and just send an email to my wife and be like, hey, everything's great. How are the kids? And like there's something to be said for disconnecting, but like I like staying in touch with my family, 100%. Or like even we went in super deep early to scout. We were about 9 miles in. And Hearn had to work, and he was coming in late. So just like hitting him with a message and being like, "Dude, we're camped
Here's
here,"
the coordinates,
and he's got our location. Like there's a place for a little bit of technology in that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I use it the same way, and especially if you get an animal down or something like.
Oh heck yeah! You gotta call buddies handy, to help pack it out. Like it's
the way to go.
Totally,
for sure, and especially for the money. What are they like? $300, $400 or something?
Yeah,
like that.
Like $45 a month or something.
Yeah,
like, easy.
So worth it, and you can turn it on and off too.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, exactly.
We're big. Garmin should be a fucking sponsor of ours, but they're not.
Yeah, come on, Garmin.
Yeah. Me and Michael both need sponsors here. So, no, that's awesome, man. So you were here on an elk hunt. How many days did you show up? Like opening week, or?
Yeah, we did. So it opened on a Thursday, and we hiked in on a Monday.
Yeah, I went up last Wednesday and.
Oh right. How'd you do?
I struck out. So.
Yeah. Were they bugling?
No. Silent, man. And where we were at, there was a lot of hunters, man, which can be helpful sometimes. You can use them to your advantage, But yeah, no, they were quiet. We got in them a couple times, but man, they're so fucking smart. They know their range, We had a bull come in at about 70 yards, and it's pretty thick. So
yeah, exactly. We got on them pretty early, and I guess we got in on Monday. So it was Tuesday. we got in and we glassed up 6x6 and 2 5x5s, and we're like, game on, this is going to be great. And then it rained, and we spent like maybe 18 hours.
Fucking wet,
dude. I was in the tent. Like, I was glad I had audiobooks going, like I was like, fuck, man, is this going to happen all week, But then the rain quit, and we just couldn't find them again, and did some, ran through a couple of those drainages, just checking, and then Hearn came in. He was in comms with Aaron Snyder, who was like, that's not the spot. This is a spot. So we ended up packing out.
That's a good guy to have in your fucking corner, man.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That
guy's a serial killer.
Just a wealth of information. Like, if anyone knows anything about Colorado hunting, it's him. Yeah. Like, he's the guy you want to talk to. So super grateful. We ended up hiking out. We moved spots, went high again, and didn't see him, Oh, but where I was going with that, so that particular spot we were first at, when we hiked out, I think we counted 10 groups of hunters on the 9-mile trail out. So, like, no wonder those elk vanished, right? Like, it was just
that's
pounded.
Just it. Like, if you don't have the wind right, and if you really pressure them, like, if you really go after them, they're gone, dude. They'll be 2 or 3 ridges over, like, whatever. And
easy day.
Sometimes you have more luck anticipating what other hunters are going to do. I found over the years is like anticipating what other hunters are going to do. Like, opening morning, we're not out there beating the woods, man. We're up glassing and seeing where elk are going from getting pushed around,
Yeah. Well, this was like, I'm a new elk hunter. I've been out here 4 or 5 times. And this year's the first year I shot one.
Awesome. And congratulations. That's
thanks,
fucking
dude.
Epic, isn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. Rad. Yeah. Totally rad. But it was interesting because, like, a new hunter, or a new Western hunter, I should say, like, I always thought go high, glass them, and then make a move on them. But these guys, like the Kafaru guys, who are, like you said, serial killers, like that, I ended up shooting a cow. We were running out of time. I think we killed that
because the meat's incredible.
Oh yeah. I'm a big believer of, like, if you have the shot, take the shot. Like, the horns will come eventually.
Well, Baker was just saying that in the last episode. He was like, I hunt broadside elk.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's exactly the
first thing that's broadside from me is getting smoked.
But so these guys, I mean, I killed that elk like less than 2 miles from the truck. And so in this new spot, totally different strategy. All the guys like me who are new at this were high in the mountains, on the trail, deep in.
Right.
We hunted right close into camp and very quickly got on sign and had a herd of them. We didn't see them, but we could hear them, cows moving through, and just sat. And then we were sitting maybe like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and saw mule deer walk through. And then 5-10 minutes after that, this cow walked through right about 50 yards. And
that's crazy because we had a similar story, that's like, we were literally maybe 100 yards off the road, and 50 feet is legal.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And there was bulls coming into these willows and a water hole there, and everybody else was out, on top of the above tree line and stuff. So
yeah,
it's crazy. They go into those deep dark holes when it's when they're getting pressure.
Absolutely. And another thing too, like a learning point that I got on this trip is, like, we immediately went in like hard and long, and like we were just gonna fucking man through it and go deep. These guys who kill a lot of elk, they hunt the easy spots first. Go in and check the easy spot, like save your legs, like all this stuff that that wouldn't have just naturally occurred. It makes perfect sense now, of course, but like my mindset before seeing how they do it was, you got to like get as far away from everything as possible. Sometimes that'll work, but maybe the better approach is save your legs, hunt those easy spots, go a mile here, a mile there, try to find them, and just get that tag punched. And that's ultimately what we did, and like it worked out, man, and it was rad.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
I still got a little bit of time left, so I'm hoping I can get her done. But
yeah.
I got a lot to fit in. I got 2 deer tags, a bear tag, but that's all right here, so that's easy. I can hunt the mornings and evenings.
I love that there's elk taunting you in your backyard.
Yeah, it's just like I sent it to my brother, my uncles, and everything.
They laugh at you.
Oh yeah,
well, that photo,
that
photo of that bull asleep in like the church yard, like unbelievable.
And that's what I love about it here too, is because I honestly, like, I'm a meat hunter. Like I'm not. Even if I did shoot a big bull, it probably wouldn't be a shoulder mount or anything. It would just be maybe a Euro mount, maybe in my garage, maybe in my gym. But other than that, like that's probably the extent that I would go to get something mounted, unless it was, if I shot a Pope and Young something, I'd be the first guy to sell it to Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop or whatever, give me my money, This is going to pay for more hunting trips, but that's just me. And I don't knock anybody that does trophy hunt, I think it's to each his own, but man, I love having those big bulls around here and being able to get up in the morning and see them every morning. Mm-hmm. And with the camera, and like I've seen some crazy shit go down. I've seen bulls get gored and gutted, like on a baseball field.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, right here, and there's so many elk. And I shit you not, like maybe 3 or 4 days before opening day of archery season, those bulls just walk right in here, and they know what they're doing.
Yep.
They're so fucking smart.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah, my kids love it too. Get to take them out in the morning, and then there's like a group of photographer buddies that all run around and chase them, and some of them are pretty renowned dudes that shoot for like Field and Stream and stuff, and they come in here and you get some epic photos.
Oh,
you get in trouble in a hurry though too, because you get the occasional person that pulls up with their iPhone and gets out, and it's like, I've watched people get chased over the hood of their car. I've seen cars get fucked up. Like,
have you seen that Instagram page, the Torons of Yellowstone?
No.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's all just
not yet.
Jeremy, you got to follow this. Pull this up. Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
We got to get into this.
It's just like a greatest
there's a lot
hits
of bison.
reel of bison and bears and elk and just dummies walking up on them from their car.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
we were looking at Dudley's bull that he shot
a
couple days ago.
These people are horrible. You could sit out on the deck of the bar.
Yeah.
You sit out on the deck right at the bar next door and watch this happen all day long.
This dude's in trouble.
No.
Look at that bison.
He's looking at him. That bison's thinking, is it time to send it?
Yeah. He's wearing a white shirt too to boot,
No. Look at this guy.
Oh my God.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Try me.
He's got some balls, man.
But yeah, the elk around here, it reminds me of the whitetails back home, because where we are in kind of country ass New York, we got does in our yard and whatnot, and come hunting season it thins out because everyone can hunt them basically. Right. But it's different. It's just out here everything's a little bigger.
And are all the deer in New York, are they all whitetail?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All whitetail. Yeah. You have I think mule deer kick in like right around like middle Nebraska. Is when they happen,
yep.
And then it moves.
There's blacktail bucks too.
Yep, as you get to the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest. And it's a cool history. Like you said you had fact checking. You should fact check this, but I think like ancestrally, they were all whitetail, and like as they moved west, they kind of over time evolved into mule deer and blacktail and whatnot. So it's a cool kind of lineage sense. if you get into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would that be? Like genealogy, fucking dumb guy. Genealogy, history of deer or something like that? Or I don't know what you would Google search, like evolution of deer maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Jeremy was showing me some shit because up where I was at, there was like, it was just a crazy year because we got so much rain and then it dried out. And then we got so much rain the last couple days, or the couple days in after opening day, it was just downpoured. Yeah. And where I was at, dude, we were finding there was every type of mushroom you wanted, from psychedelic to frickin'
I believe it.
Shiitake. I mean, it was fucking awesome, dude. We were eating all kinds of mushrooms in camp. Some we didn't even know.
We went
get dangerous, but
we went deep at our place. We got like 40 acres and kind of doing the homesteading thing for a while, and we got deep on the shiitake thing. We cut logs and inoculated them and put them out in the woods and grew them up. Yeah, it was awesome. Actually, it's super.
Do you know a lot about mushrooms?
Not a ton, but shiitakes I nerded out on for a while. And what you have to do is, so you drill them and you inoculate them with mushroom spore, and then you cover them with wax, and then you sit them in the woods, and they need like, I think if I remember correctly, it's like 18 months. Then after 18 months, you take that log and you soak it in water. You call it flushing it. You pull that log out and let it sit, and that water will activate that spore, and they'll come out. So
that makes sense why we were seeing so much then. Probably,
we did like about 100 logs at our place. And my son was probably like 1, so we were doing the new parent thing, and life just kind of got away from us.
Yeah.
And those shiitakes just kind of sat in the woods. Like I just could never get to that flushing step. And this spring, it was turkey season, and I was out with my kids, and we were just walking around listening, and we went through our shiitake yard deep by the creek in the kind of the back corner of our property, and there were shiitakes everywhere. I mean, we probably pulled 20 pounds of mushrooms off of these logs, and they've been sitting there like 4 or 5 years just doing their thing, and we just happened to stumble on them. So it was pretty rad to
That's epic, man.
plant that spore, plant those seeds, and then come back and get it.
Yeah.
We're eating like shiitakes and whitetail for dinner, like
That's
everything came off this 40 acres.
Yeah.
It was pretty
We
pretty
found
rad.
some feral asparagus. There was like an
Oh,
old little
yeah.
cabin too, and they used to plant it, and you can find it. And I shit you not, man, they're like 18, 19 inches long.
I
you
believe
know?
it. Yeah.
And they're so good. It's
Yeah.
so good fresh, man.
Yeah, dude, we
That's the way to
do we do a little gardening too, and asparagus, like what they'll tell you is, you kind of make a bed and just leave it, and it takes like a year or 18 months or whatever it is for them to start, but like once they're there, like you found, they're there, and they'll just keep
Right.
doing their thing, and it's totally sustainable. And
Yeah, the cabin's not even left. You can just tell there's like some ground timbers or whatever was the foundation back then. And
that's
then,
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. It's like an old mine camp or something. They had
Yeah,
asparagus in there, and sure shit, every year you can go in there and whack a couple out,
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Those guys knew what they needed to do to feed themselves, like it all had to come from one spot. So
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy, pull up my personal Instagram. I think I posted some pictures yesterday of some of those mushrooms, and I wasn't
yeah, you
sure.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna see if maybe you knew, Mike. So the red ones with the white dots on top, and I have a really good
you
buddy
can't,
that we've had on.
I don't think you can eat those.
Okay.
Yeah, the red and white is like a sign. The death colors,
Death sign.
the death signs. So
They were
I thought
fucking
that was-
everywhere,
I
man.
thought that was the one that told you
That was
you
the
were gonna-
size of
you were
my
gonna-
fist
So-
too.
You were gonna shake hands.
So
with the elves
here's
on the other side.
here's a pro tip. If you have cell service, there's an app, and it's called Picture This, and like fucking get it. It's awesome.
Really?
And you take a picture of any plant, mushroom, anything, and it'll cycle up, and in 10 seconds it'll give you identifying features on it.
Wow.
So like when I'm walking around with my kids, or if I'm out scouting and I'm like, what, I've never seen
What's
that
the app's
flower.
name?
It's called Picture This.
Okay.
Yeah, and just grab it and it'll tell you exactly what
And is
you're
it
looking
for
at.
plants specifically, or
Plants.
Is it, okay.
Plants, and it'll do mushrooms. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. It'll tell you common names and everything, and then so you'll look through. It'll give you the scientific name, and then give you the 4 or 5 common names. And usually you can pick one out of the list. Like, oh, that's a hen of the woods. I can eat that. So.
There's a great guy that we've had on the podcast before. Orion Aeon is his name, and he started this thing, Forage Colorado. It's an awesome page to follow.
Oh, rad.
Because he's the guy that taught me about feral asparagus and stuff. I had no idea. I never looked for it. And now that I know about it, whenever I find like an old cabin or something, I'm always looking. And
Yeah.
sure shit, you'll find it, and he eats all kinds of stuff like thistle, but he'll actually like prepare a meal too. And he's an elk hunter. It's a cool dude, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Knows his shit. So he's a good guy to follow. And he's always coming up with like wild recipes, and it's all stuff that he's foraged,
Yeah, that's
It's
rad.
fucking
I love that
cool.
stuff. I haven't gone too deep down that rabbit hole, but it's super neat. Like we plant a big garden, and one of the tips we have a bunch of bull thistles and various thistles all over our place, and it was you cut them, put them in a garbage pail, and fill them with water and let it sit for like 30 days, and it just stinks. It makes this concoction. We pour that on tomato plants, and man, it's like fucking miracle grow. Like you
Really?
can see, they just start reddening up like that.
Damn, that's awesome.
So there are all these like there's this like whole wealth of like old knowledge that I think we can you can tap into and just apply to your garden or your elk hunt or your whatever, walk in the woods and just make it more alive.
Hell yeah.
Find something to
Yeah,
eat.
my kid experienced wild raspberries for the first time this year because the last 2 or 3 years have been so dry here that the raspberries didn't really bloom, and they didn't really mature.
Yeah.
And this year was enough. And we do some high alpine, backcountry fly fishing and stuff. And
Awesome.
he just eats it up. We catch brook trout like crazy. It's so much fun. He loves quantity over mass. You know what I mean? Like that's his deal. And he's like his old man, but But for the first time, I was like, hey, go pick. He loves raspberries from the store. And now he's like, fuck those raspberries from the store. I don't even want those. I want wild raspberries. So he's constantly looking. He's like, Dad, I found this bush at school that had wild raspberries in it. You know, he's all pumped.
It tastes better when you work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth. And that's kind of the truth to hunting, you know.
Check this out. Here's what you saw yesterday, right?
Uh-huh.
And
those are it.
That's it. That's Amanita muscaria.
Yeah.
So
do those make you trip or or do you die if you eat them? Or what's...
You're not going to die. I mean, they say that they're poisonous and that it has an effect.
Uh-huh.
So like it's a Super Mario mushroom.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go back tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can jump higher after you
Exactly.
eat it.
Yeah. You shoot fireballs. They can get larger.
Yeah. Jeremy was showing me, what was that video you were showing me from Comedy Central or something? It's fucking hilarious,
dude,
man. It's like the evolution of man or whatever, you know, like what do they call that? The stoned ape theory
Stoned
or
ape
something?
theory, yeah. That was hilarious.
It's pretty good.
Spring break.
Yeah.
Good shit. Yeah, man. First time in Colorado, or you said you were in Estes Park, but first hunt in Colorado, or?
No, so I came out here, it was before my kids, so it was probably 7-8 years ago, and did just a DIY solo thing. I drove up on a high road and tried to get after them, and I just kind of had like one issue after another. My grandfather passed away when I was in, and that's when that inReach came in handy, right? So like I got a message and like, hey, just call home, no emergency.
There's some weird shit that happens in the fall. Like we cut our trip short last year because we had a death in the family, and it was like, fuck, man. And it was somebody who was supposed to go with us too, which was even worse. But my family's like super understanding. I think they think I'm kind of a weirdo because nobody hunts, and I just vanish for the fall and kind of do my thing. Right. They're super understanding of it, and they said like, you know, the funeral's probably going to be Saturday. We know you've been planning this for a year. I drove from New York out there and got up in the mountains, and I was just like, all right, I don't have to come home. And you can see on the map on that inReach where like I walked in like another half mile, and then like processing all this stuff, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, and like just turned around and spent like 2 days, and it's just been one thing kind of after another. On all these elk trips, so it was awesome for it to like finally kind of come together, just to be able to get out,
see it, you know, actually get, you know, an arrow in flight and have it complete that, you know, cross that elk off.
That's awesome.
And get the meat, you know, like I've eaten elk from other buddies, but it's never the same, you know, like we actually had some today. I butcher all my own stuff and whatnot, so we brought it back to Hearn's place, and I was cutting up the elk in his kitchen and whatnot, and I was frying up some.
Are you driving home, or how are you getting it home?
I'm gonna fly it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I fly a lot, so the baggage rates are pretty good for me. But it's funny, we just did this on the way here. You bought a cheap Igloo, like a really inexpensive like cooler, and if you get that meat like frozen solid, put it in the cooler, no ice, no anything. You can't put dry ice on a plane. And then,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't have dry ice. Okay. You can have ice, but ice
that would
just
be the first thing I do. To be like,
let's
go get a block of dry ice.
Bomb squad wouldn't like
You're
that.
You're getting arrested at TSA.
Yeah, you'd be in cuffs, bro.
Right. What are all these 7-Up bottles for?
Yeah, exactly. But literally just freeze it solid. So I like rough cut all my stuff and froze it solid. Put it in a small cooler, as small as you can get away with. Wrap that joker in duct tape good so it doesn't leak. If stuff leaks at an airport, like you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
They're gonna be paging you,
especially if it's blood.
Yeah. Nobody likes that. Yeah. So get that thing sealed up. And I mean, I've been traveling 18 hours and then gotten home, and the meat will be a little soft, but honestly, I'll get it home, unpackage the stuff that's kind of half frozen, and that's when I'll clean it up again a little bit, vacuum seal it, and then hard freeze it. So It works really well, you know, like it's very, very possible, I would argue, to hunt almost anywhere in the world and with a cheap cooler kind of get it home. I mean, if you got delayed like days and days, you'd have trouble, but a hard freeze will last even in a cheap cooler.
Yeah, I always pay to get mine processed just because I'm a bow hunter, and you know how hot it's been the last couple of days, man. If you shoot something, it's like
you got to get it out.
You better get it out pretty damn quick. You better have some help.
Yeah,
you know, because it'll turn sour pretty quick. So, and that's the worst thing, man. I think like you go through all that effort and everything, and then the meat spoils. That's
That's
horrible,
it's a bummer.
right?
It's
Yeah.
a bummer. I've
never had that happen just because my uncles and everybody that taught me. I didn't grow up with a dad, but my grandfathers, it was just like that. Taking care of the meat was the priority, you know?
Yeah, I had that happen to me for the first time last year on a pronghorn hunt. I made a bad shot on a pronghorn, and we had to track it. That was also in Colorado, in western Colorado. And made a bad shot, had to track it, 95-degree sun. Like, it was rough. Got another arrow in it, got it out, got it right down, got it to the camp, on ice,
It's just
got it
miserable to work
got
in,
it
too.
right down to the processor cleaned it up, sent it to me, and even still that me, like, it was too much. Like, I think that animal just walking wounded, and then the heat of, the 3 hours before we got it, like, cold, it turned on me, which is a bummer because I've been doing this for a little bit. That's the first time that's happened, but nothing goes to waste. It'll be dog treats and shit like that. So
dogs will eat it.
but it definitely will spoil on you in September in this country.
Oh,
for
it's
sure.
crazy. Yeah. You got to get it. You got to get it off the mountain quick and to some place. And there's some great spots around here where they'll hang it for 4 or 5 days and then cut it up for you, and they'll make
which is perfect.
whatever you want. So
Talking about hanging meat. One of the what are we looking at here?
That's a pile of raw chicken going through the carousel at the airport.
Oh, awesome!
just a frozen block of chicken.
Dude, traveling
crazy.
is not what it used to be, man. This
So-
would have been unthinkable.
Yeah, somebody
This
did.
is in Seattle.
No, somebody did that for Instagram, man.
Yeah.
That's a joke. Somebody walked in an airport, put that joker on there, and filmed it to be funny. There's
You're
no
prob-
way that went through the fucking
here's
airport.
Here's the thing. You're probably right, but I don't put anything past the airport now. The airport sucks now. So it's like, ugh, of course.
So talking about hanging meat, I did a cool story a couple years ago with a buddy of mine. He's a butcher out where I live, and a hunter, and processes deer, and now he's a big time butcher, does cattle, everything. This is a story I did for Field and Stream a couple years ago, and we did a venison taste test, and we aged it because he had all these deer, and I shoot a bunch of does with my bow. So I shot 3 or 4 deer all off the same piece, got them to him, and he hung them and then processed them everywhere from it was 1 day to 4 weeks on the hook. And then
And
we
this
did
isn't an article that you
this
somebody
is an
could read?
article we did. Yeah.
Where could you read it?
Do Field and Stream venison taste test.
Okay.
But so the old time wisdom, like old whitetail hunters will say, leave it on the hook for 2 weeks, and
Yep.
and you need your temperature needs to be like
You can't freeze it.
above freezing.
Yeah.
Like 36 I think is optimal, or like maybe 40, but it's got to be below 42 where bacteria starts and above freezing. And he has a climate control cooler, so that was all like science, that was solid. The old time hunters will say, like, conditions correctly, you want to leave it on the hook for 2 weeks. And we went through all of this process, and we had like 20 people over. We threw a party. I numbered everything. We gave everyone score sheets, and everyone ate burger and backstrap that was aged. And I shit you not, 2 weeks on the backstrap, killed it.
Really?
That like talk about that old school wisdom, it nailed it. Everyone's like, this is the most tender, the most flavorful. It's not too gamey, not too whatever.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool to kind of tease that out.
And that's the thing too, where we take our stuff, you can pay for certain aging, right? So like 1 week or 2 week, or you know what I mean. It costs a little bit extra because it's taking up space, but
Yep.
yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, 2 weeks,
Yeah, that's
man.
it. It's how long should you age venison? Is the
Sweet.
article.
Yeah, that was a fun one, man. I love
So
doing
do you
those.
do a lot of riding like this for Black Rifle then? Is that the
Yeah,
main, or are you doing video stuff, or is it?
I do it all. So like I was originally a video editor at Field and Stream, right? And then we started doing a lot of multimedia projects, and I mean, not to sound like too douchey, but to brag on myself a little bit.
all good.
This
is your episode.
Yeah.
This is the stuff I want to hear.
So we did a trip. We went up to Idaho, and with a buddy of mine, the dude I was bear hunting with, and we did a mule deer hunt. And I went up with them, and I killed a mule deer, and I came back with a story and with photos and with videos. And I think that was the moment. That was kind of where I I kind of moved up on the masthead a little bit, and they were like, oh shit, this guy can kill the deer, gut the deer, process the deer, make a video, write a story, take photos, just like a jack of all trades thing. I like to say I'm not really good at any of those, but I can kind of do it all, right? And that was sort of the point where I started doing more and more of these travel experience hunts and things like that. So for FRA, I've done some stuff, but right now we're trying to get it off the ground. So I haven't been writing. I wish I was writing more. I should be writing more. But right now we're just trying to grab content. And I'm going out trying to hang out with guys, meet guys who are going to be valuable to us, like Mike Hearn, just a badass hunter, up-and-coming photographer.
I can't wait to get Mike on the podcast, by the way, too.
Super good dude, So I want to be writing more and making more of kind of my content. That's like what I love to do. But right now there's just a lot of administration, editing, training up other writers and whatnot, Everybody who thinks they can write because they can talk, and that is just not the case.
I can't do it either.
Yeah.
No, I guess I talk all right. I mean, I got a podcast, so
writers need editors.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing a lot of that kind of behind the scenes stuff lately.
Is that torture for you, being a writer, or is it?
Being a writer? No, I think like I love it, but I'm like very disciplined. I'm like a very routine driven person. And so like if my alarm goes off early and I work out and then I'm at my desk at 7 a.m. and then I'm get like 2 hours maybe in the morning, that's like the zen spot, the sweet spot. And if I have just those 2 hours in the morning to write every single day, stuff gets done. I just wrote a book. And that was exactly how I did it. It was just, I set my life on train tracks, and my wife is awesome about it. My kids get it. And it's just kind of go hard till about 3 p.m. with working out, writing, then do emails, then do that, and then disconnect, like forget about it. And then wake up and do it again. And I think with that sort of regular daily routine, like things can get made. And so when I'm on that, like I love the writing, when I'm trying to get something done at 6 o'clock at night and I'm getting texts that dinner's ready and like the kids want to play, and then it's a problem. But there are definitely strategies to work around that, to like make the writing or video editing or studio photo or whatever your art is, make that kind of work with your life.
Oh, that's crazy, because that's when I'm most creative and I get the most done is first thing in the morning. Well, first thing in the morning is work out.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning is coffee.
Yeah.
Then work out.
Yeah. Totally.
Then breakfast. Then then I'll start getting into
coffee. Do we have you on the pour over thing yet? Are you doing that?
Dude, that's all I do.
That's where
and
it's
I was
at.
doing it up at elk camp. Stanley makes a pour over deal now.
Oh, rad.
Which is awesome. And I know Black Rifle has one too, right? Like theirs folds down and it goes in a pack or something, right?
Yeah, so I mean we have all of them, man. There's an option for everybody. So like
listen up, whoever sends me my coffee, send me one of those things.
So we were using, actually Evan designed it and he did a fucking good job. It's an aluminum kind of pour over kit that it snaps together so it folds flat, and it's just like 4 pieces of metal, super light. Awesome. You can take that and filters everywhere and a bag of grounds, and as long as you got hot water, like you're making a pour over. For like home use, the Chemex is kind of what everyone over there is using. They got me on it, and that's
what is the Chemex? Like I'm new to it, so I have the cheap thing over here, and that's what I got.
I can't see that. I don't know that.
It's just like a glass thing with a cork, and
that's what it is. It's the same thing. It's a
same thing.
Okay, yeah.
That's
like bamboo. I think it's bamboo.
Yeah, that's the Chemex, and that's where it's at. You get a Chemex and a scale and a way to get water hot, and you're good to go.
Let me tell you, I've turned into a coffee snob after drinking Black Rifle too. Like, the first time I had it was actually with Lucas O'Hare. Mm-hmm. I went and when he was still living in Georgia, we went and recorded a podcast with him.
Rad dude.
In his garage, man.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth, fucking great guy.
Yeah.
And he made me my first cup there, and it was a pour over, and ever since then, and he sent me with a bunch of coffee too, and I left, and I was like, okay, now I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Like, this is worth it.
Yeah, I hadn't had the coffee until I became an employee.
Right.
Just because it just going 100 miles an hour, I just had a very simple coffee routine. Yeah. And I mean, not to talk shit, but I kind of thought like, yeah, tactical coffee, funny videos. Like I get it. Like I thought it was a brand more than a coffee company. Right. And then I got the coffee and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
It's a
like,
whole nother
thank
level, man.
God. Thank God it's good coffee.
Especially when you start doing the pour over game.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like if you just
yeah.
buy some bag of coffee, I won't
Yep.
name any names, but it's just a different level, man. Like,
well, it's fresh, you know?
Yeah.
And like we've been awesome. Like the customers that we have, the demand we have is just fantastic. And I've gone to Tennessee to like our plant where it's roasted, and they're racing to get it out the door. So like if you're a coffee club subscriber, like that coffee that shows up on your door, like with shipping time, like worst case it's like a week old, maybe 10 days old, which
wow,
honestly,
that's incredible.
the
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the thing about coffee too is it's supposed to age and off gas in the bag.
Uh-huh.
So like if you buy
And
coffee,
that's why it has like those little buttholes on the bag. Or
yeah,
vents,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, the glory hole. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. But if you get it straight from the roaster, like it's going to have like a lot of it's not going to taste perfect. You know, you need it to sit in the bag for a little while. And so I mean, I don't know. I sound like I drank the Kool-Aid, but I don't think you can get a fresher bag, like a peak ready to drink bag. Which is awesome.
Well, when I was getting up at 4:45 in the morning, I was getting up so I could do my pour over before I hit the trail. You know, like with the headlamp is like, got to do it. And Stanley's, that little cup that they got is badass because I have some of those. You know, Stanley was kind of like the first Yeti. Like I remember my grandfather going around with this Stanley cooler, right?
Yeah, my
like
dad had one fishing. That's what we would always take, is his old Stanley.
And those things are awesome, man. Like I take them out when I go photograph elk. That's the first thing I do is get up and make a pot of coffee.
I got to check
And
that
then-
I'm not familiar with that one, but
Yeah,
I've kind
just
of
the
fallen
Stanley
down
thermos, like the old school green.
But it has a pour over in it.
Well, no, they make a pour over that fits on top of the Stanley thermos, and then you just pour it over, and it comes all apart. So, like you know, how the thermos has the plastic like screw down thing with the valve.
Yes.
So it's the same sort of concept, but that screws onto the top of the Stanley, and then you just do your pour over on that.
Awesome.
Cap it, and your coffee will be hot for like 7 or 8 hours or something, right?
Totally,
Like,
totally.
Stanley, if you're listening, we'll take a sponsor too. But
Yeah. I got to dig out that old Stanley cooler. I've been on the Yeti train for a while, and I got that micro bottle, not micro, I don't know what it's called, but it's the smallest of the bottles.
Yeah.
And I packed that. So like we just all this week in the backcountry, we were doing pour overs in the morning, and I just had one in my camp cup, and then I made a second one and put it in that Yeti bottle. And then it's like 12 noon, you're hungry, you want lunch, and you have hot coffee. You know, it's like you don't have to pack up the stove. It's like, it's perfect. It's heavy. It's a little weight. Like I think the ultralight guys would kind of, you know, want to get away from that. But I'm so hooked on caffeine,
the ultra
man.
guys need the instant bags.
That
That is the best instant coffee I've had, by the way, too.
Yeah,
is the little sticks.
Yeah, the sticks. I think the trick to the sticks too is you need 2 of them for a cup of coffee.
I
Make
agree.
a strong cup of coffee.
I've
Put 2
put
of those in
3.
there.
I'm a guy that would put 3 in there sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Just to power and go, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The first pour over I did up at elk camp this year was with the JB. And I put way too much. It was dark, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't have my headlamp and all that shit that I normally have. And like, it was way too much, man. It was like drinking mud.
Yeah.
But I was ready to go, man.
Yeah, exactly. Gets you.
I don't know if I would have pulled off the shot. I think I was shaking a little bit, but
Yeah.
no, it's great stuff, man. I urge anybody to try it out. And we have great discount codes. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, try it out. Check it out on our website. It's all right there. So
Yeah, right on. And they support hunting, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's not
they support veterans.
Yeah.
They support
veterans.
Yeah. They support hunting. They support handicapped people and adaptive type stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they're more than just a coffee company in my eyes. And
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
and they have some great podcasts. They have great content. All the I've been reading Coffee or Die for a little while.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah,
and
right on.
there's some good stuff in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's all good stuff. So
Yeah, Marty over there at Coffee or Die has done an excellent job. Like he's built up like a real kind of news organization.
Yeah.
And it's like it's on the ground, you know. It's like it's ground truth. It's not just someone dropping in who doesn't know anything about the military, you know. Like he was just on a flight. I think he got stuck in Qatar, but when the pullout was happening in Afghanistan, like he was with the team going in because he was going to report that, you know. And so like that's the kind of access that, like in his case, like he was a ranger Evan and SF, and then doing agency stuff, and Logan, who I work with, Scout Sniper, like all of those, the contacts those guys have in the community have really enabled, I think, in a lot of ways, Coffee or Die to tell a truth that otherwise isn't going to get out there, because that's a very closed off community. Like, you're either a Marine or you're not. Well, we have, like one of our senior editors is a former Marine, and that guy can go in and immediately has trust to that community that,
he's going to tell the real story.
He's going to tell the real story, and he's going to get guys talking because they're going to trust that he understands what they're saying. They speak the same language.
Sure.
Like, I don't necessarily think journalists are going in. Some of them are, but not all of them are going in to kind of spin the truth or tell lies. But they just don't know. Like, I'm a gun guy, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the way the mainstream media writes about guns. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, they can't tell the difference between a AR and an AK, and so they're not of the culture. So how can you report on it honestly and ethically, Sure. And so I think Coffee or Die in that military space has really found a sweet niche for telling something and showing something that a lot of guys who are in the service, they know it, but now they're able to kind of, Coffee or Die can amplify that message and kind of bring it out there.
You touched on something a minute ago of us, pulling out of Afghanistan, and that's been a heated subject, and I know how I feel about it. And I feel probably the same way a lot of veterans do about it, and people that served over there, and it's a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
How soon are those articles coming out? Have they already come out?
They're out, dude.
Yeah?
They're out. I mean,
awesome. I need to go read up on that, because that's the opinion that I want to hear.
Yeah.
And some people have stepped up to the plate, and there's all kinds of mixed emotions and opinions and stuff that are firing off. But
no, we absolutely are all up over that. I mean, daily coverage, multiple stories a day, updated stories. I mean, that team was tracking down the names and talking to family members of those Marines that were killed, like, as soon as it hit. And again, that's a situation where, like, a family in grieving is gonna, if they know us, they typically respect us and trust us, whereas that may not be the case for someone else. So for other organizations.
Now, is that strictly an online platform, or what's the best way to get that information?
Yeah. Go to coffeeordie.com. That's kind of where it's at. We actually just wrapped up the second one, but we're doing a print magazine as well. So
really?
I had a couple bylines in that. The whole team has kind of chipped in on that. I'm not.
Is that
certain.
something that you guys could send to us here at the studio, or
I think so, if we still have them. They sold out pretty quick. I think they may be on the site. We can check that if you go to Black Rifle Coffee or Google Coffee or Die magazine, and that's just like a primo print publication. Like, as an old magazine guy, like, the quality that they put into this magazine is just foil cover, thick, heavy pages, big format. It almost has like a same look and feel, if like Recoil, like just like a high quality, well-made magazine. Like, they went that route with it.
I love that stuff. We just had Tyler Sharp on a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, Modern Huntsman.
Yep.
And they are putting out incredible, like, National Geographic, like, quality stuff, but not National Geographic. So
well, I think like if you look at magazines, right, that they sort of went almost like a newspaper route, where it got very thin pages, small format, not a lot of pages.
It feels like
it kind of trickled
catalog
down.
of some sort, right?
Yeah. Well, it got like the mainstream magazines, especially in hunting. Like, they got thin, they got smaller in size. Like, it was a cost measure because of the internet. The internet has done to them exactly what it did to newspapers, like I was talking about earlier. And I think the future of magazines that a lot of people see is it is a premium product now. Like, it's going to be a smaller audience, but it's going to be something you're going to keep. It's not a magazine you're going to flip through, standing on the counter, going through your mail, and then forget about or put on the toilet.
Right.
Very tactile.
Yeah, it's very tactile. Like, it's the magazines of the future, I think, are going to be almost skew more like a book, like something that's higher quality you're going to keep on the shelf. And, and the fact that, honestly, there's a company like Black Rifle who wants to get in that and do that. Or like Modern Huntsman, who's like going to tell real stories and do it in a super premium way and be okay with like maybe a
The
smaller
photographs
distribution.
too that come with it are just
Awesome.
incredible.
Awesome.
Because maybe it's just my love of photography, but that's one thing I love about Bugle and why I contribute to them too. You
Exactly.
know, like
Yeah.
I get a check from them occasionally, but I don't even care about that. It's more about the contribution, man. And
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
getting their magazines because it's a quality printed magazine.
Absolutely.
You know?
And not to be like a publishing nerd, but that's another example of a magazine that has a powerful, well-funded, well-run organization behind it. You know,
Yeah.
with Rocky Mountain Elk. You could say the same thing of DU, Ducks Unlimited.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
for sure.
their magazine rocks, man. And I think that's the direction we're gonna see this go. Is it's not going to be like a standalone kind of company. It's going to be some sort of adjunct to another enterprise, so to
Yeah.
speak. Which is okay, you know. Like that's just you gotta roll with the times, you know. Yeah.
If we have any listeners that are involved in the outdoor space, or maybe they want to gig writing or being an editor or something at Black Rifle, how would they go about doing that? I mean, how did you get your foot in the door?
So I saw the job listed. They were advertising, and I think Coffee or Die's hiring. They've been on a hiring spree. So you can go to careers at Black Rifle, I think, if you want to get in directly with us. And yeah, you just gotta. So getting into writing, right? That's a whole. We could do a 2-hour podcast on that.
Sure.
But like for me as an editor, and a lot of the editors I really know and respect, like what matters is your work. Doesn't matter where you went to school. I went to a bunch of schools. Like nobody fucking cares about that. Mm-hmm. Like what they care about is like, what does your work look like? Is it does that photograph tell the story? Do those words convey something important? And so if you want to get into this, you have to focus on the craft. You know, it's not so much about being Insta famous or killing some crazy large animal. You know, that's all good. That's all benefits, right? But like, is the craft of writing solid? And are you the kind of writer who can work with editors and who have that like thick enough skin to understand how sentences work?
Yeah.
Take the criticism and like be in it to kind of learn how to get it to where it needs to be to get published, you know? So like I just tell people like write and like send me stuff. Like I cultivate lots of writers, you know, because people did it for me, frankly. I just think about it like just giving it back. And I mean, I'm easy to find at Michael R Shea, you know, and send me stuff.
Yeah, you got a great Instagram. By
Who
the
were you
way,
writing
too.
for before? Like, what did you cut your teeth on?
So I like to say I learned to write at a little newspaper in South Carolina, Beaufort Gazette. Chris Passante, if he's out there, you listening, buddy? I haven't talked to him in years. I think he's a preacher now in Pennsylvania. But I wrote something on this. I was like a fucking county council meeting or something, you know, and I always thought I was the smartest guy in the room, you know, or I did. Yeah. So proud, slid it across his desk, and he was just like, oh, all right, come in here. And it pulled me around his desk, and he just rewrote that thing in front of me. And he's like, all you're going to work on is, I don't even remember what it was. It was like 15 column inches. That's the way we talked about it, because it was columns in a newspaper. And he's like, do this one tomorrow, do that one. And I just went in with him, and he just showed me how to write a very basic news story. And I've been to writing school, and like I've written for a bunch of national magazines and done all that. But that was a real lightning moment for me, because I realized like there is a template, you know, like we think of writing and we think of like art making as like this, I have to be inspired. I have to eat the mushrooms in the woods, right, and then it comes to me in the muse. Like, I'm one who thinks that's all fucking bullshit. Like, you have to figure out, like, what are you trying to communicate? What is the best way to communicate? And how do you do it? And there's an example out there. So, like, I did a huge newspaper project for them. It's kind of like what I made my career on. I got upgraded newspapers, won a bunch of awards. He literally brought in a Washington Post project. It was an investigative reporting project. He brought in a Washington Post thing, and we went through it and talked about how does it work? What's the lead? Okay, this is the story that talks about following the money. We're going to do that. This is a story that's just mini profiles on the characters. And I could see it was like almost like Lego blocks, right? Like the story, it all clicks together. And I wrote that story that did that well from a template of an existing like baller story, you know, and like word for word. It wasn't like any plagiarism or anything like that. It was just like, use this template, to make it yours.
Sure.
And that was just an ultimate game changer for me, you know. And like if you get into outdoor writing, same thing. They're like templates for how they work. So I got into Field and Stream, and I had 2 editors there who I still will argue, they're still there. Colin Kearns, Dave Hurteau, absolute best in the business. And those guys taught me how to write an outdoor story, you know. And it was like, sometimes it was rough, you know, be like, really? Like, I went to writing school. I know what, you know. But man, they just took the time, you know. And so it's important, I think, for like young writers to like understand it's a journey, you know, to get there. And you got to just kind of put ego, I think, on the back burner and work with someone who knows how the sausage is made and just learn from that, you know. Sure. And eventually you get to the point where like you can make your own sausage recipe and you can get creative and get wild. But like, you know, in grad school, they always used to say James Joyce wrote The Dubliners before he wrote Ulysses. And The Dubliners is like the cleanest, tightest, like in literature set of short stories that's probably out there, like just dialed. And Ulysses is, I mean, no one can get through it. People get PhDs trying to interpret what it means. But before he got into that like experimental stuff, like he knew the rules, right? It gets back to like, you got to know the rules to break them. Sure. So, yeah, you just got to keep writing and reach out to people, you know, and who are a little further down the road than you, and talk to them about it and get that craft game figured.
And it's kind of breaking the ice in anything, like it goes with anything, right? I would imagine it's just fucking doing it, like at some point, right? Not being afraid, like. Yeah, dude. And like, go after it.
And like that just gets back to like when I was talking about my routine and my discipline, you know. It's like the writing muscle, it's the same thing as like my quads that are shot from fucking running up mountains, you know. Like if you want to get good quads so you can hunt elk, you got to get on that fucking stair climber and really do the work. It's the same thing with writing, you know. Cultivate a routine that gets those muscles built.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How often do you have to travel for your current gig, and like, does it help being there firsthand to write in it, or is there a sense where like maybe you're sitting in a writing room writing about something that you haven't even seen firsthand? What's your take on that?
Yeah,
because I feel like a lot of news reporters have never seen anything firsthand. They're just reporting on it.
Yeah, so I can only speak to myself, and like I'm very much like, I still think of myself as a reporter, not a writer. I definitely go out and I experience things, you know, and like some things I can't, like I'm not a veteran, you know, I wasn't in combat, like I can't experience that, and I never will. But I can interview people and talk to people and do that firsthand interaction with them and get good interviews and go over things again and again and do research. So for me, it's very much a nonfiction game, and like I'm trying to write about the world as it is, not fiction writing something different, which is awesome, which is just a different muscle, like get back to those muscles in the gym. Yeah. But I really believe like you got to get out there and do things, you know. And if you look at like, again, like go back to like great writers, like a lot of them, even like the fiction writers, it was loosely veiled experiences they went through, you know. Like in the outdoor world, like Hemingway's the best example, like not, fucking, you know,
great shit, right?
Great shit, you know, and like he experienced those wars he wrote about. He was a legit hunter, a legit fisherman, you know, and he wrote fiction, but he was a reporter first, you know.
And I think that's what I love about like Jack Carr stuff.
Yeah,
you know, because it's like, especially his last one, The Devil's Hand. Like I'm partway through that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait a minute, am I reading the truth? Because it is, a lot of it is, and then it's hard to depict what is fiction and what is not. You know what I mean? And some of that stuff.
And he has experience. Like he has experience in that world, you know, and that he's able to translate that. So like I think to get back to your question, like you have to have experiences. You have to go out there and do the thing, you know.
Sure.
I wouldn't write about hunting so much if I wasn't such a rabid, like, you know, 40 days in a tree stand a year kind of guy, you know, like that's why I feel I have the luxury, or you get to do what I do, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up? You got any big stuff coming up after this? I mean, this was a pretty big trip for you, yeah?
Yeah, this was a big trip. I just I wrote a book that came out in
Yeah,
July.
let's talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of like press and publicity stuff for that.
And what's the
this
book
fall.
about?
So yeah, another like tangent. Like I fell down the Rimfire rabbit hole. So it's on it's a precision shooting book.
Okay.
It's out with Gun Digest called Rimfire Revolution. And so it really kind of tracks, like you say 22 to someone, and unless they're in the tactical rimfire world, they probably think of like their grandpa's squirrel gun, right?
Sure.
This is not that. This is like Voodoo Gunworks. You should look those guys up. You want to see some sick rifles.
Okay.
Those are
Jeremy, can you pull that up for us?
Those are he took a break.
Oh,
Wake up, Jeremy.
All the dudes just rolled back in.
Oh, nice. Did they find elk?
Yeah,
Awesome.
they found the big one. He was sleeping by the road.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable.
He's in the off season.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. What was it? What was the name of it?
Go to Rimfire Revolution.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Revolution.
Google that, and there's one of these rifles right on the cover of the book. But so basically, this is kind of a chronologue of the sort of new wave of rimfire rifles. So these guys figured out how to build a rifle action on a Remington 700 footprint. So I don't know how much gun stuff you guys do, but that's like the classic bolt action rifle. Like the service uses a Remington 700. It's the standard. Very difficult to convert that action to a rimfire round, right? So why would guys want to do this, right? That's the question. Like, who cares? So what's happened is in precision shooting, there's the PRS world that's come. There's this tactical long range sort of, I don't want to say it's a trend, but it's gotten like super hot and it stayed hot. And it's shooting 1,000+ small targets, you know, custom cartridges, 6.5 Creedmoors maybe, 6mm Creedmoors.
Very popular right now.
Race guns shooting long, right? Well, these guys built these rifles and they figured out, like, I could take let's say I have a 6mm Creedmoor race gun that I shoot PRS with. Well, I got to reload for that thing. I got to spend a lot of money reloading for that thing. I got to have a place where I can shoot 1,200 yards to make it even remotely interesting. Well,
Which is hard to come by.
Hard to come by, like even in the West,
Yeah.
you know? Well, these guys figured out, like, you could make a 22, you could build the exact same rifle, stock, chassis, trigger, everything, but downsized to 22 ammo, which until recently you could get anywhere, right, for cheap.
Sure.
So you could get trigger time on hundreds of rounds on the same exact platform that you may compete in. So it became this demand for all of a sudden these what they call trainers, right? These training rifles.
Which is funny because that's how I use my Glock 22 long rifle. I don't even know what model number it is.
Yeah.
But I'll take that to the range and I'll put, 30 rounds through that, and then I'll pick up the 9mm and
Exactly.
or my 40 caliber or whatever and shoot that, and then I'm way more accurate too.
Exactly. So guys figured that out. What you stumbled on, the precision shooting world figured that out like 5, 6, 7 years ago. But they needed a rifle. So this company came along, Voodoo, and they basically figured out the rifle. A lot of other companies have gotten
Jeremy,
in.
search Voodoo rifles.
Yeah, that's one right there on the cover.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
And that's the cover of your book right there,
Yeah, that's
cool.
it. So as this was happening, this organization got started called NRL, National Rifle League. Very similar to PRS, same idea. But they came up with a 22 version. And so what they realized is that not everybody has 1,000 yards to shoot. Pretty much everyone has 100 yards. So what they did is they made a...
Oh, that's fucking sweet,
man. That's one they just gave
Holy shit,
away
look
on
at that thing.
Instagram. Yeah, that's a smoke show. So NRL 22 came along and they said, we're going to come up with a PRS NRL style, centerfire style game that you can do at 100 yards. So we're talking about like shooting a 1-inch target at 100 yards with a 22. And you're shooting off barricades, you're shooting prone, you're shooting offhand, you're shooting all the positions like you would in a centerfire match. They started this up and it was really genius on their part. Tyler and Travis who figured this out. They said, we're going to put a course of fire online. and anybody in the country who has 100 yards can be a match and can shoot the course of fire and submit your scores, and you can see where you stack up across everyone in the country. And of course, like if you're in the desert and it's blowing 20 miles an hour wind, or you're in trees and you don't have wind, there's some variables, there. But dude, it blew up. And all of a sudden there's like 90 plus clubs around the country every single month shooting this course of fire. And so what happened is like that rifle and that organization sort of independently happened at the same time. And like the book title, it's not like cute alliteration, like an actual revolution has happened, and the whole shooting industry has got on this. So there's now like a Smoker Bagara 22 that's fantastic. Like Volkortsen makes great guns. Savage has a tactical one for not a lot of money that shoots awesome.
Cool.
So all of these companies kind of came on and sort of moved this sport down. So guys are doing like all the cool guy like sniper stuff, but in 100 yards with the 22. And I got hooked, man. Like, talk about hooked. Like, I went to my first match. I had this Australian gun, a Lithgow, and I can shoot right in my yard. I got a bench at 50 yards, and I was literally shooting like one hole groups at 50 yards with this 22. And so I signed up for a match like 3 hours from my house. And again, I was like, I'm going to take money. Like I was rolling.
Jacked.
I was jacked. So accurate, good scope. Like I can do this. And I went to that match, and dude, I got my clock cleaned.
Really?
Smoked. Yeah. I just got beat up because I had only been shooting from a bench and from prone. And you get into these matches and you're shooting off a tank trap, or you're shooting out of a sewer pipe, or off a chair, or off a ladder, or you got to run from one stage to another and put 3, and then run to another and put 2.
So there's a tactical side to it.
Oh, 100%, and I just thought it was just all about accurate rifles, and like having like good basic mechanics. And that just like, again, motivated me again to go deeper. And that was sort of like the genesis of the book. So as I fell into all of that, I realized there's this whole world, and there was like nothing that collected it all, right? So like because of my job, like I can nerd out on shit like this and call it work. So I would spend hours on Sniper's Hide and Rimfire Revolution, all these forums for these gun nerds. Like, do I need to weigh my ammo or not? If I weigh my ammo, is it going to be more accurate? And like figuring out all these tips and tricks and gear hacks and everything. And so I started writing a bunch of stuff about it for Field and Stream. You can actually see like when it took over, because if you go to my author page on Field and Stream, there's like a point where I wrote my first Rimfire story, and then everything above it is Rimfire, So like totally fell down the rabbit hole, and got to last shot, 2 SHOT Shows ago now, and I write for Gun Digest as well. So I was talking to my editors there, and I was like, I want to get all this stuff in one place, so someone doesn't have to do all the homework that I did to figure this shit out. And they were like, yeah, I love it. I sent them a couple of my FS stories on it. They were like, do it. And then like Rona happened, and the whole world went bananas. Yeah. And I just got on that discipline, like train track I was on. I set my schedule, like worked out some stuff with my wife for time to spend more than just the 2 hours at the desk. And just took this obsession and all the research I've done and just wanted to put it in one place, and then came out with this book. And so you ask about my fall, like I don't have a ton of hunting trips lined up. I got a couple, and I'm thinking about maybe adding a couple more, but I'm going to be doing some book promotion stuff. We're going to get some videos out. We're going to do a lot more of the shooting side stuff, I think, this fall than the hunting side.
And the book's available now. You can get it digitally and in print, or is it?
Yep. Okay. You can get an ebook, and you can get it like anywhere books are sold, like Amazon. Gun Digest store has it. They had it for the cheapest, I think, the last I checked.
Awesome, man.
Amazon changes all the time, so who knows?
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're burning through the time here. I know you got another podcast to do tonight, and I'm glad that you dropped by here,
Dude, it was fun.
Glad Baker connected the dots. Thank you, Baker.
Yeah.
And, dude, you're welcome back anytime, too,
Awesome,
man. Anytime you want to come back in here, and I've had a good time with you, man. This has been fun.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, anytime. So Everybody, thanks for listening. Jeremy, you good?
Yeah, man.
All right. Thank you guys. Catch you on the next one. And go check out Michael's book, man. Check it out. Rimfire Revolution, right?
Yes, sir. You got it. Thanks, dude.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. Also, if you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com. We wanted to let you know that the Mountainside Podcast is now available on Patreon. If you'd like access to bonus footage, behind-the-scenes content, ad-free listening, and much more, simply find the link in our bio or visit patreon.com/themountainside.